Hello, dear friends. Patrick here. A serious video today, but a topic I think is very important. I'm going to try and make it interactive by splicing in some images for you to follow along with. And I want to share with you, first of all, this statement from the Clergy Coaching Network in social media online. It's a Facebook group. Now, I know that social media is usually like you walk into a room, everybody's throwing mud at each other, and so you feel like, hey, let's throw mud at each other. It can be like that, but at the same time, it also allows you to connect with a lot of people all over the place, and so it is what it is. So let's take a look at this quote. I'm going to try and put it on the screen for you right here. This is from Brian Zand. Brian Zand is a pastor at one of those mega churches, kind of like a Hillsong style, with the rock stars at the front and all that kind of stuff in the United States. And he writes lots of books, and, he'll probably be the next scandal that you read about because they all end up being that way. But here it says here from his book, Postcards from Babylon, it's not the task of the church to make America great again. So obviously he's speaking against a certain political perspective, right? He says it's not the task of the church to make America great again. The contemporary task of the church is to make Christianity countercultural again. He calls it countercultural. And once we untether Jesus from the interests of empire, we begin to see just how countercultural and radical Jesus' ideas actually are. Enemies, love them. Violence, renounce it. Money, share it. Foreigners, welcome them. Sinners, forgive them. These are the kind of radical ideas that will always be opposed by the principalities and powers, but which the followers of Jesus are called to embrace, announce, and enact. And the degree to which the church is faithful to Jesus and his radical ideas is the degree to which the church embodies a faith that is truly countercultural. It's not the Christianity of Constantine that can face the challenge of secularism, but the Christianity of the catacombs. Brian Zand, Postcards from Babylon. So there you see it, right? He's saying that he doesn't want the church to be associated with Make America Great Again, and we obviously know what that's all about. And he lists these different qualities, right? Now, if you've ever studied Gad Saad, he's a professor from my alma mater, Concordia. I think he's moving on from there. But he wrote a book called The Parasitic Mind, and he talks about empathetic suicide. And I want to just take a look at this passage here and see how he says that all these qualities are, he says that these are the qualities of Jesus that people are supposed to follow. So let's just keep that in mind. Now, someone else added onto his quote, and they said, he continues, much of the American church has been captured by an ugly religious nationalism. So he says anything to do with religious nationalism is ugly, right? If American Christians imagine America as a kind of biblical Israel, we will inevitably make the mistake of thinking that the apparatuses of American government, including the war machine, are commissioned by God for divine purposes. Thus, to make America great again is imagined to be supported by divine warrant and connected to the salvation of the world. But America is not a kind of biblical Israel. America is a kind of biblical Babylon. America is the latest in a long line of Babylons. Many American pastors, preachers, and teachers have conflated the United States with the kingdom of God. When the country takes a dark turn toward nationalism and nativism, things can get ugly in a hurry, and that's what has happened. So there you see where he's making his stand. He's saying anybody that says make America great again, to make is supposed to be on the side of God, right? And he says that America is Babylon. So Babylon in the Bible is going to be destroyed. And this is what his whole message is, Postcards from Babylon. He says that the West, in particular the United States of America, is Babylon, and it is going to be destroyed, and by inference, he encouraged that destruction. That's why I'm going to make the title of this video, The Enemies of Society Are Preachers That Preach This Kind of Message, right? And I just wanted to share with you my reply that I made on that. And I said here, if I can find my reply, I said here, that's why the church is impotent in today's society. It's thoughts like these that keep believers apathetic while the corrupt take over. This message is telling Christians to crawl inside of a cave and do nothing. So he's saying better to go back to the catacombs than Constantine, right? It is a vivid reminder that the clergy are on the side of the state. While evil people are destroying school boards, unions, and all levels of government, the clergy tells Christians to be countercultural by being the doormat of society. It was the Christianity of Constantine that changed the course of history and effectively rescued civilization from the dark ages of debauchery and idolatry. It was the Christianity of Constantine that rescued Christians from the catacombs and allowed them to contribute to the advancements and progress that occurred in all areas of society. I mentioned here, Jesus called John the Baptist the greatest, and John the Baptist was not afraid to speak against the political leader of his day. In fact, it cost him his life. The clergy of today are ready and eager to speak against Christians, but none dare speak against the evil individuals and institutions that are intent on destroying civilized society. So here we have this wide divide that is happening. There are some preachers in the United States that are on the side of making the nation strong, that are on the side of patriotism, and that are on the side of even the phrase "Make America Great." In Canada, we had Pierre Poilievre said Canadians want to make Canada great again, and the Prime Minister got up and said Canadians don't want Canada to be great. You know, he was so offended by that statement. And of course, they made comparisons to the U.S. political climate and so on and so forth. But here you can see the divide happening. And it's blatant that so many of the clergy, agree with this gentleman and saying, oh, you know, you've got to be a doormat. You've just got to go back, crawl inside of a cave, and that's what Jesus would want, right? Not any kind of what he calls ugly religious nationalism. Anything related to patriotism or nationalism is bad from the perspective of those in power, because those in power are trying to destroy the West. They're trying to destroy Western society. So anybody that's a patriot, they say, oh, I'm proud of my country, Canada. They say, oh, that's wicked. Well, how could you say that? That's evil. That's colonialism. That's all this privilege. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. And so I wanted to show you just the type of reply that I had. I had a reply from this guy by the name of Sky McCracken. Now, believe it or not, I thought that can't be a real person's name, but apparently he is an actual senior pastor of a Methodist church in the United States, if you can believe that. That's the guy's name, Sky McCracken. Sounds like a totally cartoon name, but anyway. And he commented back on my post and said, "Good Lord," with lowercase l. Imagine a senior pastor, the first words out of his mouth, using the Lord's name in vain, saying "Good Lord" as a reply. Can you imagine how sick an individual has to be to call themselves a pastor and then to use that phrase? Sick in the head. He says Constantine made Christianity the law of the land and made it too easy. He says you can't sanitize the crucifixion and resurrection and have Christian faith. I'm guessing that he was probably drunk when he wrote that. And so I'll give him a pass because, first of all, it makes no sense. And it's, just imbecilic, really. Anyway, I replied to him. I said, you are a senior pastor and you used the phrase "Good Lord" just to start your reply? Your comments about Constantine making Christianity easy and sanitizing the crucifixion and resurrection are beyond ignorant. You must be suffering from some type of brain injury. If you are actually a pastor and not just a troll account, then I honestly feel sorry for the members of your congregation who have to endure listening to someone as mentally deficient as you are. Feel free to show me anything on my post that suggests anything related to your comment. If you think a political leader, Constantine, converting to Christianity is a negative thing, then you are part of the problem. And so, they deleted that reply. Probably, I guess it was a little bit too harsh, but there you go. That was my reply, and then the reply got deleted. And then I had and so this guy is a pastor. This is what he's saying, right? Saying that, oh no, and the guy that wrote the original quote, Brian Zand, he's a pastor. And that's his attitude towards anybody that might be patriotic, or anybody that might say, it's probably a good idea to make America a great country. And, what is the end result of that? You have people like this other individual who probably wants to be a pastor but couldn't make it, but he's kind of like a wannabe, by the name of Grayson Lancaster. And he said, Constantine making Christianity the state religion is possibly the worst thing to ever happen to Christianity, unless, of course, it happens in America too. That's the attitude of this gentleman, obviously an educated young guy, and you can see what he looks like. Let's take a look and see if I can insert here what this guy, Sky McCracken, looks like, and see where he's coming from. Do you think that Sky McCracken is a voice for the state? Take a look. Obviously he is. Do you think Sky McCracken is listening to what the state tells him to do? Oh, I'll wear this rainbow flag around my neck. Oh, that makes sense. We just got to be accepting of everybody. Yeah. Same as the United Church, right? Just, well, you know what? We just might as well go with Sodom and Gomorrah because that's where the state wants us to go. And that's the result that you get with that kind of teaching, that kind of attitude. And then you have this Grayson character. And look at the post that he makes. He says, vote as if, instead of voting, you got to consider that you're privileged, he says. And he gives all these criteria of how you should vote. And so this idea, we're so privileged, we have to cater, and we have to kowtow, and we have to bow down to all these specialized interests. So anybody that's a foreigner, we have to bow down to them. Anybody that's a pervert, we have to bow down to them. Anybody that's, suffering, or anybody that's part of these special interest groups that like DEI or BIPOC, we have to put them first because we're privileged. This is the attitude that comes out from this type of teaching, right? And they're saying, it's because Jesus was empathetic. All about, we got to follow Jesus was empathetic. Jesus cared for the poor. Do you know something that they don't preach about Jesus? When he healed the 10 lepers and one guy came back and Jesus said, we're not 10 cleansed? Did nobody come to give back thanks except for this foreigner? You say, oh, wow, it's only one instance where Jesus said that. What about the woman that had a sick daughter? And she said, can you heal my daughter? And Jesus said, it's not right to take the food from the children and give it to dogs. He was referring to Gentiles. He was referring to people that are not Israelites, right? Samaritans. He says, I'm not going to take what's supposed to be for God's children and give it to foreigners, give it to dogs. Again, another prime example of Jesus' attitude and his priorities. Another time, remember when Jesus was giving an example of somebody that if you have a problem with them, if your brother sins against you and you want to have an issue with him, you take it to him. And if he doesn't listen to you, take another couple of people with you. And if he still doesn't listen to you, tell it to the church. And if he still doesn't listen to you, treat him as a politician or a foreigner, a publican or a Samaritan. Basically just says, treat him like you would a foreigner. And again, why nobody coming back to give thanks except for this foreigner? Jesus wasn't all empathetic over foreigners like the preachers would have you believe. Jesus put his nation first. Jesus put Israel first. Jesus said, I wish I could gather you together like a hen gathers her eggs. He cared about his own nation. He cared about his own people. But you will never, ever, ever hear that preached from clergy. Clergy says you should be a doormat for anybody that wants to come into your country and take your place. If you go over to other countries, if you go to countries in the Middle East, do you think they're going to just lay down like a doormat and say, your priorities are more important than ours? You think if you go over to Somalia, if you travel to Haiti and go in the middle of a downtown street and say, I think I want to protest here and give my views. How far is that going to get you? Not very far, my friend. But these clergy are sitting in their ivory towers. And I looked up the clergy network, and the only thing that I found that the leaders of it seem to have in common, if you look up who runs the what do you call it, the clergy instructional group on Facebook, 378,000 members. The Clergy Encouragement Network. The name of the group escapes me right now, but I'll put it in the link. The common thing they have in common is that they all have a Master of Divinity degree. Not all of them, but most of them. So I'm sure there are exceptions, that there are some people with a Master of Divinity degree that are nice, sensible people. But by and large, it appears that if you get a Master of Divinity degree, you become an enemy of Christians. You tell Christians you have to bow down before every other person that has these issues and have these problems, and you have to put them first, because that's what Jesus would do. Oomph that. That's not what Jesus would do. Jesus would say, I'm putting the children of God first. And then, yes, don't forget about the foreigners, because you were also foreigners in the land of Egypt. Don't forget to have some sympathy for the people that's coming here and struggling, because you also were a stranger in a strange land, and you needed sympathy as well. And there's stories of David and so on and so forth, when people are, entertaining strangers and taking good care of them and so on. So we are instructed to do that. But don't forget how he spoke to people about foreigners when he was walking around doing his ministry. He put the children of God first. And so when a preacher comes out with this absolute BS and says, you got to be countercultural, because if the state ever became a Christian nation, that would be horrible, right? You should go back and live in the catacombs. Just give all your money away, be a doormat, have no backbone. Nationalism, that's ugly. How could you ever be proud of your own country? This is what preachers are preaching to people today. And what is the end result? They turn into perverts. They say, we want to be like Sodom and Gomorrah. We want to do whatever the state tells us to do. If the state tells us to do this, we're going to gladly do that. If the state tells us that we got to put the pride flag in front of our church, we'll gladly do that. That's where that type of teaching leads. It's called empathetic suicide. And if you're not sure about it, study Gad Saad, read his book, The Parasitic Mind, read the book by Matthias Desmet about mass hypnosis, psychosis, hypnosis, and that kind of thing, right? I'm getting my terms mixed up. But these are important things that we're facing today that should be considered. The pastor is not your friend. He's not on your side. He's on the side of the state. Why? Because the state gives him tax-free exempt status, because he's in an ivory tower. All he cares about is collecting money from the sheep. He doesn't care about you. All he wants to do is keep browbeating you week after week. If there was a church that actually encouraged people and told them that God was on their side, that church would be packed. And the churches are not, look at Joel Osteen. He fills a stadium because he tells people that God is on their side. But he does nothing with it. He doesn't go the next step and say, now go out and complain about your school board. Go out and complain about the perverts that are taking over your school children's teachings. He doesn't do that. Of course not. He goes 1/4 of the way there by telling people that God is on their side, and then just stops. And then, okay, send me all your money so I can live in my $10 million mansion. That's about it. And the rest of the churches are half empty because there's nothing going on in there. Nobody's, you want to fill a church? Get up and say the leader of the country is evil. We need to speak out against that. We need to speak out against corruption in our school boards. We need to speak out against corruption in corporate activities that we see in the world today that are blatant and obvious. And this kind of teaching from people like this scumbag, Brian Zand, are what it will destroy Western society and allow it to be overrun. And the people that are overrunning it, they're not going to be doormats. Trust me, they will not. And I could talk more about that, but I've said enough. So God bless you. Thank you for watching. It's an important topic. Keep it in mind. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. God bless you.